Well, howdy, friends. I am using a new microphone right now and I'm doing a solo episode. I thought it'd be kind of fun, thought it'd be kind of cool. I wanted to do a solo episode because we're going on a family vacation. So by the time this is up and aired, we will have gone and come back. I'm so excited. It's about 12 of us in our family, which is the biggest cruise vacation we've ever taken. I'd say we haven't gone on that many cruises. It's very bougie. It's nice. It's a delicacy. We're very blessed to be able to go. But my mom and dad went last year with me and my brother and my husband, and they loved it so much they wanted to go again. And I was like, I don't know, it's expensive, whatever. My mom said if you buy the airline down, you buy your flight to get to where we have to get on the boat, I'll pay for your tickets. Bet, Linda. Okay, I will go. I will be there. I'll see you soon. Flying in Frontier/Spirit, which has, when I tell people that, sometimes it makes them cringe. They're like, I had a horrible experience. I might want to do an entire episode just on travel and my thoughts about it. My husband and I, we pack one backpack each. Maybe we get a book on the plane and then we go. That is it. I'm not doing any of this checked bag nonsense. I want to get on the plane. I want my personal belongings with me on said plane, and then I want to get off. So people are like, you don't even have a carry-on? No. Army roll, all your clothes, put it in a backpack, pick the right pieces of clothing to go in said backpack, leave behind the things that actually don't matter, because so much doesn't matter, and go and just travel. I think other people, they might have actual reasons for needing so much space, right? I think kids, you can travel light with kids if you're that type of parent, but so often you need the stroller, the diaper bag, you need this, you need that. I have the pets. I don't have any kids, so I don't really actually know how kids travel. But that seems like you would need to check on more stuff. I love traveling light. It's amazing. Back to the cruise. Probably about 12 of us. And Bradley and I have decided that we are gonna try to take the most go with the flow, laid back attitude. Because 12 people, that's a lot of opinions. So we're trying to be number 11 and 12, where the rest of them are leading the way. They say, I want to go here, I want to do this. My mom has grand plans. She wants us to do karaoke. That's so precious. I will absolutely always do karaoke 100%. But she wants me to practice. And I was like, people don't practice for karaoke. You just go up and sing and you just follow the lyrics. And she's been sending me Bon Jovi for months to practice. I haven't opened one video she sent me. I'm going to wing it. And it's going to be great. I'm just trying to defer to what other people are going to want to do. Otherwise, I feel like I will get frustrated. I am kind of an impatient person by nature. I'm working on it. Me and my therapist, we're working on it. For this trip specifically, I love a boat. I'll do whatever on the boat. I'll read on the boat. I'll do trivia on the boat. I'll do bingo on the boat. I am so pumped to be on the boat. But a lot of my family, they want to go on excursions and do this off the boat. And my thought is, you can only get in so far of a radius off the boat to when you have to turn back so that you can, board the cruise ship before they leave you. And the people there, the locals in wherever your excursion is, know that. So then the radius to where you can explore is also the radius to where you can be, I don't want to say exploited, but that's where I feel like a lot of sales stuff is happening, and I do not want to be sold stuff on vacation. I already paid for the cruise. I didn't pay. Okay, Linda paid. The cruise has been paid for. I just want to stay on the boat, but I know they'll want to leave the boat, so we'll go with them. I can feel that if I do not sit back more, and my little cousins, they have preference, my parents are going to have preference, their parents are going to have preference, my brother has opinions on where we should eat already. I have not looked into a single thing. We are going to go, we're going to have a grand old time. If all else fails, we have the boat, and I love the boat. I do. That's why I wanted to solidify maybe where we were living. I thought that'd be good. I thought that'd be smart decision given that when we come back, it'll be July. Our current lease ends in August. There's not much time after that, then, if we want to find an apartment. There's time, especially in Dallas, there's always units, but would it be the one we wanted, or would we have to just say, we've looked enough and this is kind of what it's come to? We maybe missed an opportunity elsewhere and now we're choosing this. Anyways, I have been apartment hunting in Dallas with my incredible husband, Bradley. And he is, what's great about him is he puts up with my shenanigans, because whenever we've historically done apartment hunting, it's been an ordeal. I make a spreadsheet. I book us like multiple apartment tours in a day, maybe like 4 up to 6. We have a scorecard that we keep track of. Essentially, by the 15th tour, we can still look back at the first tour and see what we liked and what we didn't like. It's a lot. It's a lot of enchilada, and he's great. I think what I really wanted to discuss was what we've settled on, where we're going. Not specifically, you don't need to know my address, but like the factors that go into it, and also just like Dallas in general. We like living here, but we're not from here. So let's kind of dive into that. I think that this episode will also be me reflecting and pondering things, and trying to understand where I really have maybe some struggle with the solution, or some struggle with the apartment that we did choose to at least apply to. We haven't gotten accepted yet. Hopefully we get accepted. But so that's the context. We are in the DFW area, looking at more like the northern part. I wanted to stay kind of closer to the airport. I've historically been maybe like within 15 to 20 minutes of the airport, and I love that convenience. And I will say, do I travel much? No. So I don't know why that's such a big factor to me. And I really like where we currently are. I do. I don't want to move, but it is the right thing to do given that we need to get closer to Bradley's work. Currently, he has a horrible commute, specifically on the way back, where it can be up to an hour, and that's just not feasible, right? After you work, you want to go home, you want to rest, you want to relax. He can do none of that, and then when he does get home, oftentimes, he's so burnt out. He's like, what are we gonna cook? And I don't cook. I'm horrible at it. I'm getting better. Okay, I will make like some very simple meals, 3 ingredients maybe, but I'm trying to get better at meal prep. That can be its own video in itself. But he's just so tired at the end of the day that also, can you hear that? That's my dog Max. Okay, he's jumping off the bed. I was gonna show you him. Doesn't matter. He is just so depleted at the end of the day. I feel like it's necessary to make this change. And the trade off, of course, is time. I have basically like 10-minute commute to work right now. It's lovely. I always said I don't want to live my life in a car. Came at me. I don't want to do that. But it's not fair that on the way back he has an hour commute. It's just not realistic. And to be fair, when we first got this apartment, we didn't know where he was going to get a job, if it was going to be south of where we currently are or north of where we currently are. We're in the Carrollton area now. The industry that he's in, engineering, there's a good bit of places all over the DFW Metroplex. So where I picked, it was a good spot for where we were. And also, our apartment is so lovely. And our unit specifically, we are right next to the pool. So we have our little lawn chairs, and we go out and we sit and we read. And there's a little yard space for my dog and my cat. The cat loves sunbathing. I don't know what it is. He's a big fan. So I feel like it's just really hard for me to want to move, because it's so easy for me, honestly, and I need to get over that quite realistically. That's just some tough love on my end that I have to dole out to myself. Where we'd be moving, it only increases my drive time by like double, and double of 10 is 20. So that's not a big deal. I want to make the change, but it's so hard. I've gotten into such a rhythm. I've finally gotten back to the gym. Our gym is lovely. So lovely at our current complex. And it's just been like a long time coming for me to feel like I have a very sustainable fitness routine going. And so I'm a little worried about that because the place we're going to, it's got nice amenities, but the gym itself, she needs some work, I won't lie. And then I'm like, okay, well, we're paying a little bit more, but we'll be closer to work. So we'll save more on like gas and maybe tolls, things like that. I don't know. I worry that we're doing lifestyle creep, essentially when you live almost not out of your means, but you get to a point where you say, oh well, we've historically had this, so we want this, but keeping the same square footage, all other things considered, we are living within our means, but just I think that due to inflation it feels like we're not. And the area that we're moving to, I feel like I have a bias or preconceived notion that it's going to be like wildly expensive, but maybe that's just putting something into the universe that's not already there. Maybe I am just not giving it a fair shot. Our apartment was going to raise our rent anyways, not a whole bunch. They're amazing, but still enough that, we said, it would make sense if we made the move. But the places I was originally looking, it looked like we'd be saving money on this move. It looked like we would be saving maybe like $100 to $200 a month in just base rent. And that'd have been amazing and impeccable. And I would have loved that. So I think I just had to adjust my expectations over time to what we actually needed. When we go on these apartment tours, and I told y'all we have a scorecard, I'm looking at like 4 different metrics, if you will. So to get on the apartment list anyway that I'm considering, you have to be within a certain proximity to both of our works. It has to be within the budget that we set, roughly. Like units with a yard, so typically that would limit you to just the first floor unless it's got a weird sort of layout or something like that, which has happened. We've seen some of those, but then those units get taken up right quick because if they're kind of higher up but have a yard situation, they're more expensive. So when we go on these apartment tours, things we're looking for: walkability, especially for our dog. I don't want to have to get him into a car and drive to a park and then that's where we walk. I want to just go outside my door and be free. I want to walk the complex, and not be right next to maybe like a highway. Highway's fine. We live next to a highway right now. I really just want the complex to be walkable and safe, and those are my requirements for the walkability. Then we look at proximity to work. We look at price, I guess in ratio to amenities. Is the price that we're paying worth what we get out of it, essentially? And then amenities. In terms of amenities, there were some needs that we decided from the beginning. We don't want to waste time with this. We want to make sure that there's, washer dryer in unit, because some places are very antiquated and a hodgepodge of amenities in the complex, so things are not consistent. When we've looked at multiple apartments, some maybe have a third or like a handful or 1 or 2 where the washer dryer is already in unit, but you have to know that when you go to the leasing office, or you have to specifically ask, and they'll be like, oh yeah, no, that one doesn't have a washer dryer. So then we have to factor that in if we buy that, or if we go to like a laundromat. And I think both of us are too lazy to want to do that anymore, because we did that for a while, but I don't think we want to do that. Essentially, the amenities we are factoring into our current lifestyle, not the lifestyle that we technically would aspire to or want to. But for example, the current lifestyle that we have is that I go on walks with friends a lot. So it matters to me that they can come over, or I can go over to them relatively easily by car, and that we can walk around and have a grand old time. So there's just a lot of factors that we look into when going apartment hunting. How many did we look at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, well, the list I have shows 27 apartments. We did not tour all of those. Those are all the ones that made my list. We probably toured about 8 to 12. I can't remember at this point because we've been on too many tours. Probably closer to the 12 mark. Then we went back this weekend for a second round tour of one of the places. And It seemed too good to be true. That was the underlying issue. I had a feeling something was going to be wrong with it, and I figured it out. And it's not a deal breaker, but I was like, there's no way we can get what we want for the price we want and the unit we want in this area. Like, something's not adding up. And I realized, okay, so they have certain amenities that are only accessed by certain buildings. You cannot use certain amenities if you live outside of those two complexes. And I wanted those amenities. Those were things that I thought we would get no matter what unit we chose. So then that raised the price up. Not out of our budget wildly. It was reasonable to me. But we found like one unit that was barely available in the time frame that we were looking. And we had already toured this property a couple times. I have a friend that lives there. I have a friend who did live there, and they both said, yeah, we really love it. So I went ahead and applied. Last night. And something was weird while it happened. Like, it seemed like it timed out and didn't take my payment. But then I got receipt that it did go through and that my background check was underway. So they're checking all the things, basically, which is interesting to think that someone knows all my life on paper, somewhere in a room, somewhere in a database, and they're checking me out. Hopefully, it shows that we've been good tenants. We try not to cause any issue. We're nice to maintenance whenever they come by. We like to keep to ourselves. We don't want the office staff really knowing our name, and we don't really want to know their name. We're just kind of like in a symbiotic relationship of not knowing. And I think that's good. Boring can be very good, especially in an apartment complex. I don't want issue. There was a time, actually, in our apartment complex where there was this guy, and I think he got kicked out of his apartment, like he wasn't paying. And so he got an eviction notice, but that's like right around the time when I started noticing, like, why is this person like hanging out in the pool area like well after hours? And then I would get up early. That was in my wake up early era, and I'm not there anymore. But it was like at 5 a.m. I'd go out and let my dog out in the yard, and he'd be there. What? So it felt a little unsafe at the time. He has since left, and I put some more pieces of the puzzle together. But that was wild for a little bit. I don't know how I got on that tangent. I don't know how I got on that thought. All that to say, amenities are cool. I think most apartment residents do not use the amenities or do not use the amenities to their full potential. And it's about knowing my habits, my lifestyle, and what I will use and what I won't use. And for example, there's pools on the premise that we're looking at that we applied to. I don't really like the beach, and I don't really go swimming, but I have friends that they love a pool. They would love a pool moment, so they'll come over and we'll hang out. That happens maybe once or twice a year. It does not happen often, and I usually go somewhere else to visit friends for a pool party. So that really didn't factor in our decision. There were just a couple other things that we're looking at. And especially if it's close to parks, because we like walking Max. Obviously, I said I didn't want to get him in a car, but I'll get him in a car every now and then, just for funsies. It's close to grocery stores. It's close to workout classes that I go to sometimes. I don't know why. I think... And when I was applying, mind you, I was like, yeah, this makes practical, logical sense. The entire time, that's why I applied. I was hesitant until I applied because I said, there's no way this is... Now we know everything. We hope. We know everything. Do we still want to go through with it? And we did a cost analysis, of course, on a little spreadsheet. And the answer was yes. We did want to pull the trigger with at least applying. If we get denied, then that says, this isn't where we're supposed to be. And that's okay. Because something about it. I think it's just that I have to increase my commute, and I love my commute right now. And that's okay. I can work with that. Also, I don't think I have to get on the highway. I think I just take side streets the entire time to work, which is my preference. I can't stand Dallas drivers. I've lived in Colorado. I've lived in Wyoming. I've lived in California. All of those places were better than Texas drivers because in Colorado everyone's ready for the weather. So we are on it. Obviously there's some accidents every now and then, but people are pretty respectful, I would say. I haven't been driving there in a while. So it could have gotten worse. Especially with so many people moving around the country right now. That's a thing. But then in Wyoming there was no one there. Not a soul. Just a couple souls. Wide open plains, wide open spaces. The reason I didn't like driving in Wyoming is because between towns, the distance is so long, you just spend so much of your time in a car. So if you're an outdoorsy person, if you like driving, Wyoming's great. I'm kind of neither. I like going outdoors, but I don't like to have to drive into the abyss to get to the outdoor destination. I went to the University of Wyoming. The closest Chick-fil-A at the time when I was a student there was 45 minutes away in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So if we wanted Chick-fil-A, we would round up a bunch of friends and then we'd carpool out there and then we'd get Chick-fil-A and then we'd promptly come back. It was not like we want to go and check out Cheyenne. No, we wanted Chick-fil-A. And so we would drive just for that. But there was no traffic. That was so nice. That was the benefit. Cost of living was super cheap. Amazing. I rag on Wyoming all the time, but there were actual benefits to living there, and it was really nice in some aspects. Then I lived in California. The California driving, everyone says California drivers suck. Well, they've never met a Texas driver. California drivers are aggressive, but we are all aggressive. We say we're okay. If someone gives you like a 3 foot gap behind their car or in front of their car, that's them saying go for it. You have to want the space, but you can go right ahead. And so I went right ahead. And I found that I was able to assimilate really well to the driving culture there. I'm not aggressive as a driver by nature. I like staying in the right lane. I will show up early to things. I'll take my time. I'm not in a rush. I don't have places to go. I have places to go, but I leave enough time to where I can get there comfortably and I'll be in the right lane and I'm not really speeding usually. But people have issue with California drivers all the time. I did not actually have that many negative opinions of California drivers. In Dallas, everyone's moving here. And so it's a hodgepodge of driving ability and preference. So you've got some people who did come from California who are more aggressive drivers, but then you have Texas drivers the Texas drivers in the trucks think that they own the road and they drive the worst. They're like, I have a truck, so I'm going to do whatever I want. No, you cannot. You cannot. Stop doing that. So I tend to stay away from pickup trucks and the like. And then you just have a whole plethora of people and everyone's mad at everyone basically because there's no consistency. And we're just praying the entire time that we can get to where we need to go. Circling it back to apartment hunting, I don't think I'm going to actually run into traffic on my new commute. The unit that we found came about, it seemed like the right time, and we applied. And now I'm letting go. I'm saying, okay, this is how it is. It meets all of our practical requirements. And I know some people said like follow your intuition, but I feel like my intuition is selfish and it just wants me to be closer to work for selfish reasons. And it is not factoring in Bradley. But my practical mind is factoring in Bradley and how this will be such a good move for him. I'm also sad that we're moving away from like the small businesses in the Carrollton area / Louisville area because there's so many. I see a lot of signs and indicators of like economic growth and development, and the parks department has really been popping off lately, and some businesses have been opening, and they're cool businesses. They're not to rag on any particular type of business, but they're not like run of the mill or you've seen it all the time or things that you've seen for centuries. Maybe let's say like insurance or like a restaurant, which are great. I love going to a restaurant. But there's cool other places, especially in the Old Town Carrollton area. There's like boba shop. There's a little theater actually, which I've never actually gone to it, but it's a nice thought that I could go to it. There's so many things that are happening there. It makes me want to stay. But the reality to get back again, the reality of the situation is that there's all these amenities, and the amenity is not just within the complex, it's what's surrounding the apartment units. I don't often go out. I go out to friends, we go to activities, and often they're not in my area. So this might save me some money in that aspect. I'm moving away from a very close friend, not that far. I'm moving away a little bit farther than we are now. I'm moving closer to one friend, and that excites me. Overall, I think it'll be good. And if we do not get accepted, if our application does not get accepted, it's not the end of the world. We will start looking for things when we get back from the cruise, and we'll go from there. We won't be home or apartmentless for long. I could also go into why we didn't want a home. All that it sums up to really is that I don't do maintenance. I don't want to. I have no interest in doing maintenance. I like calling up someone and saying, hey, please fix this. Thank you so much. The few times I have tried to fix things before I called maintenance, I made it worse, and then I had to call maintenance, and it was more embarrassing because I said I tried and I couldn't do it. And this has happened at least 3 times. Like, I really try not to inconvenience maintenance, but I love the aspect and the prospect of being able to call them up and say, hey, please fix this, do this. When you get a home, especially now, I don't know how people are affording homes these days. Back in the day, the amount of money you were making and the amount that it cost to buy your first home, it was much more manageable. It was much more affordable. And these days, I do not feel like it's the case. And for me, everyone in my family that's older, they're saying it's a good investment. Ma'am, I'm investing in other things like stocks, and I don't know what else. I think it's just stocks at this point. But I'm putting my money elsewhere because I don't think that the house is going to pay off right now. It's so expensive to get a house, and I guess it will only go up, but I have no interest. I have friends, not just here, but in other places where they've found a home and they've fixed it up, and then that costs money, and then they do renovations, and then maybe a job opportunity comes, and then they could not just move, they have to sell the house. And also, when you get a house, I feel like everything goes wrong. Something breaks, something bursts, you have to repaint or something. I just don't want to deal with that. Eventually, I think I will get over myself. I'll probably get a condo. I don't know about a house yet. I really don't. I'm not sold. I like going to my friends' houses, but then I love that I can leave, and that whatever's going on financially with their house that they have to pour more money into it's left there, and I go back to my apartment, and I'm so happy and grateful. I guess this episode is really about reflecting, looking back, being grateful for I think we signed a 17-month lease at the place we're currently at, the place I'm filming at. We signed a 17-month lease. It's been so good to us. It's been so good to us. And that doesn't mean that other places will be bad. We've just been so spoiled. And the next place will be good, especially for Bradley. And that's why we're doing this, is so that he has a better work-life balance, so that overall we get to spend more time with each other. The more time he spends in the car coming home, the less time we get to hang out after work. It'll be really good. I'm looking back with gratitude, looking forward with uncertainty, but hopefully optimism toward the future. I don't know if anyone else lives outside of Texas and has apartment questions. You could let me know. I will happily answer any DFW area questions that you may have. Okay, cool. I've mentioned Mind Your Biscuits was hopefully to be a time capsule of my conversations with friends and family. Looking back, whenever I hear an episode that has been released, because I like to listen and see, what I maybe could have done better, or if the technology and the audio is working properly. When I look back at those, even just a month or 2 after it's been released, a couple weeks even, I'm like, I forgot that person said that. That's so profound, or, oh my gosh, that's helping me now. And so I'm really excited. I'm so happy I have a podcast, a little corner of the internet. But yeah, that's my life at the moment. It's going to be great. It's going to be good. So many cool things ahead. We press on.